What's good, everybody? This is going to be a little bit of a lengthy video because we're going to be showing you all the best Battlefield 6 settings possible for the best gameplay possible. So that way you're going to be out here cool, smooth, and killing everything that's walking. So let's get into it. First things first, you want to go to accessibility. You're going to turn off the menu narrator. I don't like the narrator, so I turn that off automatically. Then you're going to go to gameplay, and we're going to get into the actual custom settings, which first we're going to start off with the infantry aim sensitivity. I got mine set to 40. Then you're going to have double tap to sprint off. You're going to crouch to toggle to sprint standard. You're going to have your volt over sprint. All that stuff set to default until we get to about right here where I'm going down to interact with reload. You're going to put that prioritize interaction. And then everything else in vehicles, you're going to leave that to default. You don't need to change anything like that because I like how everything is set up there. But once you get to aim assist, your aim input curve, you want to set to Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4. This is the best aim input curve. You're going to put your infantry aim assist to 100 and then your infantry aim assist slow down to 80. And then everything else, you're going to leave it to where it was at. You don't want to touch anything else because everything else is pretty smooth. Then from there, we're going to go ahead and head over to the HUD. Once you're at the HUD, go down to minimap. Make sure your minimap size is on large, and then you can set the opacity settings to the same as mine. Minimap opacity background 90, core opacity 15, and then your edge capacity at 40. You want to make sure your rotation is also on because the rotation will allow your character to move with the minimap, which makes it easier to actually view the minimap when there's enemies nearby or anything like that. So make sure you guys have these same settings for the minimap. Everything else, just leave a default after that. From there, we're going to go ahead and come down to the compass and infantry crosshairs and whatnot. The infantry compass, you want to leave that default. And your crosshairs, you want your crosshair opacity at 100, crosshair intensity at 80. And then my crosshair color is purple. Purple is one of the colors that's not in the game, so I recommend you putting it to something that's not in the game so that way you can always see it. And then you want your crosshair thickness, you want that to be thick. And then your infantry crosshair projection, you want to turn that off. And then as far as hit indicators, we're going to go ahead and move on to the hit indicators. You want everything here to be at 100 and then your intensity to be at 60. And then for the colors, you want to just turn every default color to the brightest color. See, as you see here, mine may look a little different from yours because I turned each one to the brightest color so that way I can see everything and it wouldn't be hard for me to see none of these indicators. And then as long as you guys do that, this is probably going to be the perfect indication setup for you guys. And then everything else you just leave at default. And I did the same thing down here, damage indicator. I turned that to the brightest. And then from there, you're good with the indicators in the HUD. Once you're done with the indicators and HUDs, go ahead and go to controller settings. You're going to go to infantry settings. And this, if you guys can look right here and see this, my right thumbstick is set to slide and it's set to crouch as well. This helps right here so that way you don't have to take your thumbsticks off the sticks. And I'll show you guys how to do that right now. So basically you're going to go ahead and go to your advanced settings by clicking triangle or Y, depending on what console you're on. I don't know what it is for PC. You're going to go to infantry buttons and you're going to put that on alternate. What this basically is for Call of Duty players, this is the tactical setting. You want to make sure your thumbs don't come off the stick, especially if you have paddles. From there, we're going to go ahead and go to controller tuning because we're going to go ahead and turn off this is probably the second most important thing. We're going to turn off the controller vibration because if you guys know that controller vibration actually causes stick drift over time, so you guys want to always turn off controller vibration in any game that you play, especially shooters, because there's a lot of vibration going on. But yeah, you want to turn that off, and then everything else you can leave it same as long as it's off. Next, we're going to go ahead and go to the dead zones. If you guys don't have any stick drift, this is what you're going to want to set your dead zones to. If you do have stick drift, you're just going to have to mess with the dead zones to find the best settings for you. But I recommend these if you have hollow sticks or if you have controllers that don't have dead zones. And this is probably the best settings for your dead zones. You want your center dead zone at 4. You want your axle dead zone at 5. And then you want your max input threshold at 60. That's the left stick. For your right stick, you're going to put 8, 5, and 90. This will help you move almost immediately when you put your inputs in. For your controller triggers, you want to turn all of those down because you want your controller triggers to respond right away as you're pressing them. You don't want any delays in that. You want to be able to shoot when you want to shoot. You want to be able to aim in when you want to aim in. So that being said, these are the best settings. Moving on to the graphics, I'm going to show you guys the best settings for graphics. You want to put your world brightness at 60, put the UI brightness at 50, the sharpness at 50, and then for the most important setting yet is your field of view. You want to put your field of view at around 100 to 110, and your third person field of view, you could just keep that default or put it at 80. You want your weapon field of view at wide, and then you want your weapon motion blur at 0, your world motion blur at 0, and you want your camera shake amount to be at 50. You want to put this all the way down so that way it reduces camera shaking while you're shooting or getting shot at. You want to put your reduced sprint camera bobbing on because you want to make sure that when you're sprinting, your camera is not moving that much at all. Everything else you could just leave on default, and I hope you guys use these Battlefield 6 settings for the best gameplay in Battlefield 6 possible. Thank you for watching, and let's keep on gaming.